Welcome to another episode of Elite Girl Talk inspired by psychology for the women who enjoy thoughtful conversations. In today's episode, I will be covering several psychological concepts regarding intelligence to give insight on how to grow intellectually, how to make learning fun, and why learning is beneficial for your well being. Before we get into today's episode, make sure to subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow the podcast so that you're notified every time there is a new episode out. All right, let's get into it. So, the first thing to understand about intelligence is that it's a skill, not a fixed state. Because most people grew up in a school system based on grading systems, it might feel like intelligence is based on a fixed metric that lives inside a box. But as you develop and grow into an adult, you realize that intelligence ranges from many different subjects, perspectives, and the most intelligent people have a common mindset, and that is a growth mindset. Psychologist Carol Dweck, known for her work on mindsets and achievement motivation, came up with the term growth mindset and fixed mindset. A growth mindset is curious, adapts, and evolves, while a fixed mindset is definitive and rigid. With a growth mindset, intelligence is believed to be malleable through practice, learning, and using strategies. For example, if you want to learn a new skill or language, a growth mindset approaches this with curiosity and understands that with the right amount of practice, patience, and strategy to learn, they will be able to learn that skill. A fixed mindset would focus more on the challenging aspects of trying to learn a new skill or language, while a growth mindset sees challenges as a chance to expand their abilities and their mind, not the determining factor of their own abilities or if they are smart enough. People with a growth mindset also see failure as data, not a metric for their self worth or intelligence. So, when they are trying to learn a new skill or subject, they are focused on whatever information they receive that will get them closer to learning that skill or subject. When you have a growth mindset, you believe that you can become more intelligent with just the right amount of time, dedication, and focus. Instead of focusing on not knowing something or other people knowing more, you focus on learning and expanding and have an open and curious mind. It's important to avoid the limiting beliefs that cause you to label yourself as not good at something and stopping yourself from learning or limiting yourself because you're afraid you'll fail at learning a new skill or subject. When you approach learning and expanding your intelligence with a curious mind, rather than with a desire to prove your worth or need for validation, learning can actually become fun, interactive, and allows you to connect with people on multiple different subjects and perspectives. One of the positives of learning is that your brain physically changes. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change its structure and function in response to experience and learning. And cognitive reserve is a concept from aging and dementia research that shows that people who engage in lifelong learning, mentally stimulating activities, and complex thinking will have better cognitive function later in life. These two concepts are important in regards to learning because neuroplasticity is proof that your brain is not fixed. It changes and rewires itself in response to what you're engaging in. What you learn, what you consume, your environment, that does have an impact on your brain. New skills, new information, problem solving, languages, and critical thinking creates new neural connections and strengthens existing ones. This can create a mental muscle, which refers to the cognitive reserve that allows your brain to maintain higher levels of functioning even as it ages. So, while neuroplasticity refers to your brain being able to change and grow, cognitive reserve refers to protecting your brain's growth and maintaining that growth. When you learn new skills like a new language, chess, board games, or read psychology or history books, or whatever it is that you're interested in, your brain builds these new neural connections and helps your brain become more flexible and efficient, which in turn is going to make you feel like you're being quote unquote smarter. You'll be able to recall vocabulary better, you'll think more efficiently and clearly, you'll be exercising your mental muscles. You will feel like you have a sharper mind. Ongoing stimulation is associated with better mood, lower risk of depression, and you begin to develop a greater sense of purpose and competence. Think of it like self care for your brain, not a chore and not like boring homework or anything. It's maintaining your mind and building the mental muscles that contribute to long term well being. Active and consistent learning can help you not feel emotionally stagnant, which can also affect other parts of your life, like your interpersonal relationships, where you'll have a better time emotionally regulating, you'll be able to think better and communicate with clarity rather than feeling emotionally weighed down or foggy brained. The last theory that I want to go over is the self determination theory, which explains why learning feels good when it's aligned with you. The self determination theory is from psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. This theory explains human motivation, growth, and well being, stating that people thrive when their innate needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness are met. This helps develop aligned motivation with things that are actually interesting to you rather than motivation driven by rewards or punishments. This is why a lot of people might have struggled in school, but it has nothing to do with your actual intelligence because people tend to perform better when they are learning subjects and skills that are actually aligned with who they are and what they enjoy doing. This is why it's important to focus on developing your own personal interest rather than focusing on what you're expected to learn in hopes of wanting to just look smart. Remember, building intelligence is about creating a rich inner world that benefits you and allows for deeper connections with other people that you want to relate to. It's not about seeking external validation and it's not about trying to be better than anyone. This can actually decrease emotional intelligence and lose the value and fun of learning. The self determination theory allows for developing autonomy by choosing what you want to learn, not just what you're told to learn. Also, building competence, which allows you to see yourself get better at something over time, which will in turn build lasting confidence. And the last thing that the self determination theory allows for is relatedness, which is the part where you get to connect with others by sharing ideas, gaining new perspectives, and discussing what you learn. When learning hits these three areas, your brain doesn't register it as a chore or a punishment or pressure. It begins to experience growth, fulfillment, and self expansion. When we picture intelligent women like Elle Woods or Blair Waldorf in TV shows and movies, what really stands out is their passion and confidence. It's not necessarily that they know so much information, it's that they dive into topics and interests that align with their identity. It's not just about being smart, it's about having depth, passion, and purpose. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite concept was. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star review. And if you're listening on YouTube, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss another episode. Until next time, bye.